I'm Patty Ann Brown, and you are in the strategy room. The tragic Amtrak derailment, which left 7 people dead and more than 200 injured, has already become a divisive political issue on Capitol Hill. Some Democrats are pointing to the accident as a reason to boost funding for the government-subsidized railway. But Republicans are calling foul, saying Democrats are playing politics with a tragedy. Well, here now with reaction are Jessica Tarlov, senior political strategist at Schoen Consulting, and Tammy Bruce, radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
So yesterday, a House committee was discussing a bill to fund transportation, and some Democrats on the panel introduced an amendment to provide $2.45 billion to Amtrak. That is $1 billion more than Republicans proposed. Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, a Republican from Florida, responded that this accident was a tragedy, but, quote, the concept that more money is the solution is not always the case. The amendment failed in committee by a vote of 21 to 30. Jessica, what do you say to what the Republican congressman has to say about money not always being the answer?
I totally agree, and I think most Democrats would agree as well. I don't think you should ever exploit a tragedy for this. It made me think back to when people said that President Obama was exploiting Hurricane Sandy to get reelected. I mean, when there is a tragedy, you have to pay attention, and it raises important questions about our infrastructure spending. But Republicans also voted to cut Amtrak funding by a fifth, I think it was, which is also just terrible optics. And that's part of politics as well. So I think we really do have to have a bipartisan, forward-looking conversation about how we're going to improve our infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a big question. Yesterday, we ran a press conference live on Fox in which the National Transportation Safety Board member Robert Sumwalt told reporters, quote, based on what we know right now, we feel that had such a system been installed in this section of track, this accident would not have occurred. The system he's talking about is called positive train control. And if that system had been in place, it would automatically stop the train if it's detected that that train is going too fast. So, Tammy, yes, it's early in the investigation, but with a statement like that from the NTSB, is it so unreasonable to mention this accident during a debate on funding?
Well, look, there's also something that we wouldn't put up with on an airplane. There was one man running that train. Would you get on an airplane if there's just one guy in the cockpit? We usually have 2 or 3 individuals. So, and this is the issue about money. It's not about throwing more money at something. It's about prioritizing how you spend it. So you can, I'll remind you that during the 2009-10 stimulus fight, actually budget passing, Amtrak got $8 billion. Now, we're still not even really sure where that $8 billion went. Did it go to infrastructure? How did it affect bridges? What about crumbling? You can have a bridge that one fellow said on Fox News the other day that you could think it's an antique. They call it a death trap. So you have $8 billion, and it depends on where you put it, how you spend it, and you can, I think technology is great, but if there had been a second person with that engineer, this likely wouldn't have happened. So that you could have had an individual interrupting or at least intervening when it came to the decisions that were being made. I think that in Washington, it's always about, and certainly with the Democrats, I must say, with Eric Holder and Barack Obama, never let a good crisis go to waste, which was actually articulated by Mr. Holder.
Right.
And I think that Americans don't view it that way. When you throw money at something, you really miss the major points of what is really happening and what needs to be fixed.
Jessica, you know, we have had people questioning for years now whether or not the government should be subsidizing Amtrak at all, saying that from a business perspective, it's a failure. What about that? I mean, we need our transportation system.
Absolutely. I mean, most of the funding, anyway, doesn't come from the federal level for infrastructure all over the country, including for Amtrak. So I think it's an important point, and I think to what Tammy was talking about, that we should discuss more the idea of public-private partnerships, was something that Governor Cuomo has worked a lot for, with like the Tappan Zee Bridge, for instance. And there are ways to integrate private business, which would then stimulate the economy, create more jobs, and we could tamp down on the government funding as well. And that's possibly a solution that we could look towards.
I mean, we see this being implemented with NASA. Right? Who is it that's trying to go to the International Space Station?
Yeah.
You know, what is Elon Musk doing? There are things that are happening within the private sector that are able to move more quickly, they're more efficiently. It's not a waste of taxpayer dollars. America wins. There's the same kind of investment. But when the government gets so big and you have politicians who are fixated on more money, more spending, remember the government is the reason that they exist. Now, you can't expect a politician to say, we need less of me, and yet we've got to stand up for that as the average individual, as people who observe and critique the nature of what's occurring.
All right,
But I would also, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that also, I mean, yes, it is Democrat form to say, let's spend more money on it, but it's also Republican form to just say cut, and not necessarily be paying attention to everything that they're cutting.
Well, when they're cutting, it's like the VA, though, we've learned today, wasted $6 billion. Yeah. So if you look at Amtrak and its failure, the VA's failure, NASA's failure effectively, is it about good spending, or is it just spending for the sake of pouring money out? And that's the difference.
Yeah. All right, Tammy and Jessica, thank you
you
both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And you can find out more about this by checking out foxnews.com. We have more on the Amtrak crash and much more than that. I'm Patty Ann Brown. Thanks for watching.